What's up? What's up? What's up? I don't even know why I say what's up. Hello, pieces of my African soul family. It is so good to be speaking to you guys. It feels like it's been a while. Anyway, I'm so glad to be back. And if you're joining us for the first time, you have been missing out on a lot. And welcome to the podcast. Welcome to this episode. And as I promised you guys, I will be doing some series on my travel stories. I've done a bit of traveling and I've been dying to share with you guys. And today, actually, I'm going to share with you guys about the first time I traveled out of the country, which was not so long ago. So that was in January of 2019. So just to give you a backstory, I volunteer with this wonderful organization called Peer Servants. So Peer stands for Partnership for Economic Empowerment and Relations. It is a Christian nonprofit, started and headquartered in Boston, but now works in Asia, parts of Europe and Africa. It is involved with microfinance. It started first being involved with microfinance, but now it has spanned to youth empowerment and education. And this is how I joined Peer Servant. So that is, I said I actively joined in 2018. So my family friends, my super awesome family called the Machatas, they introduced me to the organization because they felt that my gifts and talents could be like super used in the organization, because our organization believes in reciprocity, giving and receiving, which is a very important virtue. So I joined Peer Servants, and then first I joined a country team, because there are country teams where you can volunteer, but then I didn't feel like it was the thing for me. But then they told me there was a youth wing. So when I heard there was a youth wing, I was like, yay, let me go to the youth wing. There I can find fellow young people, advancing the kingdom of God, bringing real change in the communities, over 8 countries. And I'm so humbled to be called their leader. So I joined the youth wing, and it happened that there is a global conference where all these 8 countries converge. So it's called Advancing the Kingdom Together Conference, where young people come together for a week and we share our experiences. We do Bible study, we talk career, we talk the word of God, we talk talent, So it happened, the first one happened in Philippines, which I think was in 2011 or 2012, I'm not sure thereabouts. But then this was the second one. It was going to happen in Uganda and not in Kampala, because when you mention Uganda, people think Entebbe or Entebbe or Kampala. But this one was going to happen in the north, a town called, it's not a town, it's actually a city. It was named a city last year, the city of Arua, in the north of Uganda. So your boy here had never traveled out of the country. He had just done a bit of travel within the country, local tourism. Hapo ndio tunaanzianga. We start there, we start small. Start with the local. If you're from Kemiriri, start visiting the area, see the waterfall, That's how your boy did it, I am proud to say I visited all the counties of Nyanza, in almost all their headquarters, Been to Kisumu, I've been to Homa Bay, I've been to Siaya, I've been to Kisii, I've been to Nyamira. It's good to explore areas around you. Anyway, I am digressing slowly, and I digress a lot, so let me come back. So your boy had not traveled outside the country, so this was the first time. So I'm asked, do you have a passport? Issue kidogo, sikuwa na passport. Your boy did not have a passport. My people, even if you're not seeing the prospects of you traveling outside the country, please get a 32-page class. What passport? I've forgotten the name, but get a 32-page passport. It is 4,500. Save if you have to, Ama ukiomoka changamkia passport. You can have the passport. It expires in 10 years. 10 years is a long time for things to change. So my story will teach you how. So I didn't have a passport. And this is 2018. We started organizing dynamics of the conference, and the conference is early January 2019. So that was not enough time for me to get around the dynamics of getting a passport. So what was the alternative? Now we went into researching on the dynamics of what you need to travel within East Africa. So I hope this info will help you. So one, there's the temporary permit. So this is how you get the temporary permit. You go to the e-citizen portal and then you apply, you put in your details, you print the copy, and then you pay, it's 250 shillings. And then you attach your passport photo, and then you'll take it to the nearest immigration office for it to get stamped. So yeah, I did the due process, and then I went to Nairobi. I got it stamped almost a day to me traveling. I got it stamped. Stamping is free, so usiambiwe lipa thou tukustampie, pay 1,000 shillings so that we can stamp for you. And then after that, the second thing that was needed was a yellow fever certificate. You cannot travel without the yellow fever certificate. I don't know what yellow fever did to the traveling or to countries, but yeah. So there's the option of getting it at City Hall, and then I've also heard that Kenyatta National Hospital and some private hospitals do it. But the alternative that my friend Churchill, who I was traveling with, informed me was that you can get it at Wilson Airport. Yes, there's an office there where you can get the shot. So yes, I was with Frank. I remember Frank, my friend Frank was with me, and Wycliffe Poet. The boys joined me in town. So then we said, oh, you guys are free, let's take a ride. We rode all the way from town to Wilson, chap, and then we got in and found the office, and I got the shot. And then hiyo siku aliamua tu mbogi ilikuwa ina mimi mazee. Kijana na travel, lazima ukwe na mbogi. Ukitravel pata mbogi fulani yani. Maze, pata mbogi maze, ukitravel tafuta mbogi. So Frank na Wycliffe, big up maze, mlikuwa mbogi yangu. So yeah, then yeah, so I got from Wilson, I got the yellow fever. It cost me 2,500 shillings, yeah, which was ridiculously high, but anyway, ni Kenya. Yeah, so yes, and then that day, as usual, I had not packed. I do not like packing. And also when I pack, my mom thinks I'm a poor packer. But I have experts in packing. Someone like Sandy can pack. Oh, she packs. Yeah, so I got back to the house. That was town. I was staying in Kahawa at the time. I go back home. I pack for a week, hakuna nguo mob, boge ina nguo mob sana mazee. So tunapack zile tuko nazo, I had to look up the weather, and everything, and no, is northern Uganda cold or what? But it's just almost same temperature with Nairobi or Homa Bay. So yeah, so I packed, and then on the travel documents, especially if you're working with an organization like mine and you're going for a conference, there are details you need to just have just in case, like where you're staying, emergency contacts, invitation letter, because they might just ask. So just in case, if you can get such letters, it's good to have them. And then you have your bag, that you have your clothes, and then the carry-on that you have with you always. Have those important documents in there so that it eases the process in case you're asked for the paper. So yeah, so I pack, and then maze, the morning was long, maze, the night was long, maze. I was waiting for it. So maze, time I song it was, and I have not told you guys, I was flying for the first time, people. Flying for the first time. It was, it doesn't become a big deal after you've done it a couple of times, but the first time, as it's your first time out of the country, and you don't go by bus, you go flying. So it was tension. So it was, I was tense that whole night, and then morning came. My friend Devi, Devi, thank you so much. Mbogi yangu ingine, Devi. I think Devi has been in most of my important parts of my life. Always, in those moments, he's always there. Kunipeleka airport, kunipeleka events, kunipeleka nini. David has been, Devi maze, Maje is Joe. Thanks, maze. I call him Patrick. No, I am Patrick. No, he's Patrick and SpongeBob. SpongeBob is smarter than Patrick, so I think, yeah, Maje is Patrick, and I'm SpongeBob. Yeah, I'm the smarter one. Yeah, so we wake up, I shower, I get ready because I'd prepared everything, and then we take an Uber from Kahao to the airport, kitukaa Kithao hivi mazee. Tukafika huko JKIA mazee, unafika kwa gate, mnaambiwa mtoke kwa gari, mpitie through security, gari ikipita. Mazee, nimeanza kutensa, alafu kuna kibaridi fulani, there's this cold that comes with the airport. Like JKI is cold. Generally, all airports I've been to are like cold because I think of how they are set. Like they're on plain land, and then there are miles and miles and miles of almost open space buildings. So I think technically it's windy. Most airports are windy and windy and cold. So yeah, it's just intimidating. Like those gates of JKI, they are super huge. So I'm like, whoa, will I find my terminal? Will I find where I'm going? But anyway, so we go through security. I'm on time actually. I was there on time because I think we were supposed to have checked in by 6:45, and I was there by 5:40, 5:50 or something like that. So yeah, so we reached there. Churchill, who we were traveling with, had not arrived. So we are outside the terminal, and Majays is there with me, and so Churchill has not arrived. So because Majays loves to slay, of course, nimekuchomea bro pole. Yeah, we took a few pictures waiting. I think I still have the pictures. Took a few pictures waiting. The airport is always busy, people moving. It's never quiet. So we just waited. So Churchill arrives. I think it was about 6:40, 6:30, I think. Then we're like, man, let's go in. So we go in. We bid Majis goodbye. We walk into the terminal. And then the good thing with once the international departures or the local, so as long as you know that if you're in the right terminal, all you have to do is to find the airplane you're leaving with. So there's a counter for KLM, for Delta, for Air, all those airplanes. So the one you're traveling, so we're traveling with Kenya Airways, so we found the Kenya Airways counter. And we get there, and it was just about the minute that they were closing off the boarding for that plane. And that hostess was like, pray the system accepts you, because if it doesn't, you guys are toast. So we are there tense, it's your first time. Tunatoa temporary permit paper kubwa watu wangu. Ndio maana mnahitaji passport. You need the passports. Temporary permits are good, but because it's a lot of papers. So so we give her the papers, we give her the boarding pass and everything. She processes them. I think Churchill's almost glitched for a minute, and I almost thought that he was going to remain. I was just like, ooh, please, let it go through. And then thankfully it went through. So yeah, so we came from the counter after everything is checked. They check everything, and then you leave your main the huge luggage there. It's bagged right there. So you only leave with your carry-on. And then we climb upstairs. Technically, I've seen that's how JKI works. I don't know if it has changed. So we go, after the counters, we go upstairs. There's a security check. And then you have to find the gate through which you're going to board your plane. So I don't remember. I think it was A12 or something. We go through the gate rushing, these two tall gentlemen rushing. And then we find the gate. So I thought we were going to go through the gate into the airplane. But apparently, for this, there are flights that you don't come from you don't go into the plane directly. You go to the bus, and then you're driven to your airplane. So yeah, so we got into the bus with fellow passengers, and then luckily the bus was going all the way to the airplane. So we get to the airplane. It's not such a huge airplane. Embraer. It's an Embraer make kind of jet. It's an Embraer jet. It's about a 54-seater or something. 45 to 54-seater. Not so huge. So yeah, so we get on in there. We find our seats. We get comfortable and everything. We put our carry-on the overhead luggage bin, and then I'm not sure if it's called the overhead luggage bin. I'm just working with what I have, people forgive me. But ile kitu kwa nika tu ya basi, inakuanga hapo juu ya kichwa hapo. Hiyo. Hiyo unaona hiyo. Yes, you're right. So yeah, so we get comfortable, and then time comes. The first thing they do, welcome to flight. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. And then the air hostess comes and gives you all the safety things. And then if it's your first time, tie your seatbelt. If there's any emergency, there's the exit on this side and on this side. And then if the oxygen mask come down, this is how you pull them over. And the vests, this is how you pull it so that it inflates in any case you're landing. And all those dynamics you'll be told when you fly. I know you'll fly, my people. And then the captain goes, welcome aboard flight KQ240. I'll be your captain, and we'll be flying to Entebbe. The altitude is about 5,000, and ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy your flight. Then it goes ding ding. So anyway, our flight from Nairobi to Entebbe I thought it would be longer, but it was actually we took about 50 minutes, which is relatively short, because from Nairobi to Homa Bay is about 30 minutes. So that means if there were flights from Kisumu to Entebbe, it would be like 10 minutes. It's that close. Uganda is super close, super close. So mid-air, then there were snacks. Of course, it's not as local, but it's still within East Africa. So then the air hostess comes up and says, we have drinks, we have croissant. And then Churchill and I look at each other like, croissant? So she was actually referring to a croissant. So I don't know what the real the real pronunciation is, but it was a good laugh. And I'm like, oh, so this is the croissant. Okay. I remember I had apple juice and cupcakes. I think that's what I had. I didn't want croissant. Yeah, but it was generally a really nice flight, super comfortable. Even though when it lifts off, you have that feeling when you're on the lift. Only that it's 10 times more, It's like taking off. You learn to get used to it, when it's taking off and it's landing. It's almost the same feeling, especially if it's a long flight. You'll start feeling it descending. You like it will be dropping pole pole to. You'll start feeling it. So we get to Entebbe. Entebbe, it's a nice airport, but it's not as big. It's not as glorious. Let me sip coffee before I continue. Yes. So we get to Entebbe. It's a nice but JK, they still have a long way to go, but it was once one of the most beautiful airports. And my Ugandan people forgive me, but it's the truth. But Entebbe is relatively nice. So we alight, and then our luggage is taken up ahead of. We'll take it at the luggage terminal in there. It's not as complicated because it's a relatively small airport. So of course we have to go through immigration. So we get to immigration at the same time with Churchill. So Churchill is on one counter and we're on the other counter. It's almost an open space. So these people are teasing us. They're like, oh, you guys, are you from South Sudan? I think we look like our South Sudanese brothers because, we are all Nilots. So we're like, no, we are from Kenya. Oh, and then everyone always has this urge to speak to us in Swahili once they learn we are from Kenya. And then there was really warm immigration. It was really nice. Not the first encounter I've had with nice immigration, but so wengine wanakuanga wamekaza sura. But anyway, they were really nice. And then they go like, the only thing you should not do is don't spoil our girls. And then we are like, oh man, no, we're not planning on that. We've come for a Christian conference. And then they checked our permits and stamped everything. And then there was this check they do. I think it was for Ebola. I think something with heat or something. So that's the one we did. And then Churchill, I think, wanted to exchange some money to Ugandan shillings. So the exchange rate is actually, it plays at around 34, 35. So a shilling to Ugandan shilling is 35, so that's the exchange rate. So if you have 1,000 Kenya shillings, you'll have 35,000 Ugandan shillings. Reminds me of the time I went to exchange 8,000 Kenyan shillings to Ugandan shillings. I'm like, oh my. Anyway, so we get done. So here's the thing. Here's what happened. So my boss, my mom, Leslie, and my brother Dennis. Dennis Aguta is the facilitator for peer teens. So peer teens, we call the youth wings the teens. So it's peer teens because the parent organizations are peer servants. So the peer teens. So we have peer teens Uganda, peer teens South Sudan, peer teens Kenya. So as the hosts, peer teens Uganda facilitator, my wonderful, amazing brother Dennis Aguta, and my boss, my leader, Leslie Engelson, were receiving us. But we had only seen them on video calls. We'd never met in person, both Churchill and I and them. So they told us when we arrive at the parking lot, we'll be seeing them. So we checked, we look at the placards, we don't see them, we keep going until we went, I think, to almost the end of the parking lot, towards the exit. So that's when we decided to give them a call. And then like, oh, we'll be there in a minute, because I think they had picked people because we were arriving in shifts. Not everyone was arriving at the same time. So there were people that had picked, so they'd gone back to the hotel, and now they were coming back. So they came back. And that was a really nice moment for me because, meeting people for the first time in person, it felt really, really good. So they received us and then they took us with the van and we went to this amazing hotel in Entebbe. So Entebbe is generally a very beautiful town because Entebbe and Kampala are two different places, just so you know. They are almost close. It's a very short drive, at most 30 minutes from Entebbe to Kampala. So we go to it was called Lake Victoria. I think it was Lake Victoria Resort, if I'm not wrong, in Entebbe. So that's where people are meeting. We rendezvous and then we will travel now together to northern Uganda. So they took us to the hotel. People, let me tell you, before that moment I had never experienced that. Like, I see it in movies, say you've arrived, and then you're taken to the guest house, you're driven to the guest house, and then I'd never had that experience. So yes, it was called Lake Victoria View guest house. If you actually go to my website, you can see some of the pictures of the view of that place. Beautiful. It overlooks the lake, and the sunset just goes down just ahead of you, and you take the whole view, and the sunset goes down yonder, and it's beautiful. Wow, it's just an amazing place. If you are ever in Entebbe, you should try that guest house. So we arrive at the guest house, and actually among all those people, we'd never met any of them in person, so it was sort of a first meeting. So we arrived there, and then they let us settle down. They take us to our room. They're really this nice grass-touched modern houses, 2 beds and a shower and nice art. It's just a nice aura in the rooms. So we get down, we freshen up, and then we go back down to the meeting area. And they tell us, you guys have anything, we are going back to bring this other people. And then we were super hungry. I think the plain food had not done justice. So I think we just had some toast, milk, some toast, tea, and I think eggs, Churchill and I, as we waited for other country teams to arrive. So the whole day, people arriving in shifts. So I remember Team Philippines came in, and that was my brother Patrick, Javi, and Pastor Dan. And then the Peruvian team came in, and Peruvian team was Kayla and Sergio and Diana. And then now, as we were waiting, it was time for people to start interacting. So we were brought out, and then people started getting to know each other. And then we played this amazing game. It's called 10 Days in Africa. So technically, it's a game that takes you around Africa. So you can travel by plane or by car or by foot, by bike. So it was a really interesting game. There's a way if you can't cross the border with this and that. It's a really nice game. So we played 10 Days in Africa. It was a nice way of introducing those who'd never been to Africa. So we were having a good time, and then by nightfall, most of the teams had arrived. I think the only team that was going to arrive late was Team Zambia that was arriving. I think it was Team Zambia that arrived late, and then Curry from the US, Curry, who's a good friend of ours too, was to arrive the next day morning. Yeah. So supper time came, and then it was the real. It was actually the first time I met Sandy, and I met Sue, and I met Polia, and I met a whole bunch of people. So it was the first night. So it was a bit different. Oh, and Team Burundi also arrived within the day. Evariste and Bella and Diane. Oh my God. So these are my friends I'm mentioning. So yeah, so that dinner of that night was the first time we got to interact, and we mixed up the tables and people started getting to know each other. I remember sitting with the Team Philippines, and we had, let me tell you people, we don't eat fish in Kenya. People, the fish in Entebbe is huge. I ordered fish and chips, and that fish was huge. Oh, that fish was huge. But anyway, it was a really nice start to our adventure that we were going to have within that week. We just didn't know what was in store for us. So next morning we wake up, Curry has arrived, everyone is there, Team Zambia, Team Burundi, Team Peru, Team Philippines, Team Kenya, and the rest of the PS servants from the US. Everyone was there. And then now there was a bus that had been hired for us to travel from Entebbe all the way to Arua. Remember, it's a 10-hour drive. All the way, it's a 10-hour drive. It's almost 450 kilometers. But I was looking forward to that journey because we were going to travel at daytime, and we were going to see the whole countryside. Not the whole of it, but most of it, especially along the road. I love traveling at daytime because now you can see like if you travel from Homa Bay to Nairobi, you see the changing landscape, and you can see the socio-economic factors just by seeing the towns, seeing the landscape, seeing the economic activities. And this is something that I wanted to see for Uganda. Because, before coming to Uganda, you hear all these stories. Oh, the president is a dictator. Oh, Ugandans are this and that. But I wanted to see it for myself so that I can make a conclusion for myself. So, of course, I ensured I got a back seat next to the window. The noisemakers always get the back seat. So, yeah. So, we left in the morning and then headed for northern Uganda. So yeah, it was a really nice journey. We had snacks on the bus. Bless your souls, all those who packed those snacks on the bus. So it was a really nice journey, getting to know people and seeing the landscape at the same time. Really nice really nice composition. So yeah, so we left in the morning, traveled almost half day, and then we landed somewhere between, I don't remember the exact place, but it really had nice chapatis. I remember having Novida and chapati, and people are ordering different things. Yeah, but it was really nice stopping over. And then on the way, people started talking to each other, interacting. That's the beauty of travel, which a culture that we should not lose, getting to know people, interacting with people and all. Yeah, so yeah, we got to know each other, and Kayla and Diana, they speak Spanish in Peru. So people just got off this joke, despacito, if anything they say, we go despacito, Of course, it's not relevant for all cases, but it was funny that was the word we got to use. And then we really got to bond. At some point we were singing up there, and then we were just talking and making fun. I think by the time we were getting to Arua, people had really bonded really nicely, And I have to say, Uganda is a beautiful country. The roads are a bit narrow, but it's a beautiful and rich country. Like, if you see the socio-economic makeup of Uganda, it's a really nice country with a lot of potential, So we cross over the Nile almost close to Arua, a place called Pabungu. And then I'm like, what? I have seen this name somewhere. And then I remember we were told when the Luos, when they came from Sudan, they landed at Pabungu Pakwach. And apparently, this was the Pabungu Pakwach that was on the history books. And that means there might have been their world was there. So like I'm loving this journey. So I was actually experiencing the place where my great grandfathers had passed through, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. This is a piece of history that is really amazing. So from Pabungu, we came into, I think we did a stopover in Pabungu, and then these Ugandans have this chicken they put on sticks. My people, you should try those things. They are really delicious, very delicious. Oh my, whoo, whoo. Okay, I'm getting on the food mode too much. So yeah, let me sip my coffee again. Yeah, so past Pabungu, got to Arua. We got almost at dusk, and then Victoria Crane Resort was where we were going to stay and do most of our activities. We drive into the compound, and there's droves of human beings singing and dancing. Oh, I have never been welcomed again like this. Let me tell you something, my people. This is the reason I love Arua. The first impression I had was of a welcoming, warm people, and it has stuck with me till this day. So we get off the bus and they're dancing, and they're happy, and we join them, and like, ooh, you people are amazing. Oh yeah. So it was a really nice welcome. It was our first interaction with the wonderful people of Uganda and South Sudan. So just to give you a background, the Arua is a special place, especially because it's towards the border. So you'll find a lot of South Sudanese in Arua, settled and actually citizens of Uganda. And some are also refugees who fled South Sudan due to conflict. So actually the peer servant partner for South Sudan, they are based in Arua, Uganda, because apparently there was conflict on their side of the country. So they'll go back when the time calls for it. My friend Stephen, who is the president of Piatins South Sudan, is now in Juba. Actually, he's gone back home, which is a wonderful thing. Means peace is being regained in South Sudan. So yeah, so the team that welcomed us in Arua was actually both South Sudanese and Uganda. So we get into Royal Crane Resort. It's a really nice chill spot in the heart of Arua city. And now we have, how we have to divide ourselves well. I think Mamles did a good job in putting people diversely so that people get to know each other. And I remember my roommates were Pastor Dan, Churchill, and Sergio. So Pastor Dan was from the Philippines, Sergio is from Peru, Churchill was of course my brother. Yeah, so we were put in an upper floor, I remember. So yeah, people were put into groups, and I think our first activity and introduction was that night. So up to this point, I was very sure we were going to have a nice week. So yeah, so the next day comes, and then I remember, people, the food was sumptuous. We had a buffet for breakfast, we had a buffet for lunch, we had a buffet for dinner. And it was a really nice buffet with, because it's East Africa, of course, I know the food that I can see, because there was rice, the staple food. There's rice, there's there's fruit, there's ugali, there's tea, there's mandazi, there's chapati. So for me, it's, the the things I know. There's pilau, yeah, those ones cannot miss. So our routine was waking up and then freshening up and then Bible study, and then we get to the rest of the activities. So I will not talk about everything that happened within the week, but I will talk about the highlights. We had talks. I was actually one of the speakers, and I remember my one of my topics was youth and the arts, and then youth and mental health was one of them. So it was a really nice time to get to share and know the stories of people, to get to know that teens in Peru had used mime and dance to create awareness around gender-based violence. Teens in Burundi were visiting prisons and visiting street kids. Teens in Uganda had weekly meetings with child prisoners, because in Uganda they have such a thing, which I will talk about more later. And South Sudanese teens were visiting people in the refugee camps. Amazing. Peer Teens US, writing letters to kids who have been incarcerated in how do we call it, juvenile, yeah. So it was, Philippines, doing street ministry, health ministry, sport ministry, reaching out to kids through sports, volunteering for outreaches in the streets with the street families. And just to imagine that these are young people doing these things. So it was a really nice moment for me, for my eyes to be opened around, amazing things that young people are doing around the world. So it was a really nice experience. And when then we got to walk around Arua, some of us went to the child prison, like my team went to the hospital, and when we visited bed to bed, getting to know these people, getting to hear their stories, and it was Arua has a huge hospital, I must say. Wow, that hospital is huge. It's almost 5 floors with wide spaces. So we walked as much as we could, getting to know people, hearing their stories, sharing the word of God with them, encouraging them. It really opens your mind to the value of life, to the value and the privilege of just waking up and breathing. It was a really nice eye open. And then we walked around Arua. Arua is an interesting place. Arua people are really warm. Everywhere you go, they welcome you. They send you greetings, and that they're always happy. And I love Arua. I love Arua so much. So we did ministry around that, and then there was a day we had sports. So there was blue team, and I think the red team. The team I was on won, and don't follow up the records. Take my word for it. My team won. Yeah. And then we had talent night. Amazing showcases from all the countries and their dances, and we wore our traditional clothing, and I had the chance to dance with Diana. Diana did the Peruvian dance. There's a video somewhere online of me doing that dance, and then we shared foods from different parts of the world. It was an amazing experience. Then we had the amazing race with clues all over the compound, and then people put into teams. Yeah, it was a nice experience. So now to the high, as we headed towards the end of the week, we visit Lake Murchison Falls. We went to the game park. We saw the big five. I think we saw the elephant. The buffaloes, and then of course I think we saw no, we did not see the giraffes. But it was really nice driving through the national park. And then it was coming, the dusk was coming to fall. So I was like, will we make it to the end and get out of the park before this time? So I didn't know there was a plan for us to sleep within the park. So we actually slept in the park. And then there was this interesting moment when the warthog, so the camp has a warthog like walking. There are several warthogs walking around. So we're like from our tent, and the rooms were made of tents. So we are walking from our tents, and then you just see a random warthog passing in front of you. It's a really funny but nice experience. So we slept in that camp. I've forgotten the name of the camp. And then we did a ride around the game park, and then we did a hike. So we arrived on the River Nile, rode. We were on the ship for about 2 hours, I think, or so, and then we arrived. So we were going to where our bus was. So we crossed with the bus, and then the bus went all the way around, and then we had to go downstream, or was it upstream, with the ship or the boat. And then we were to hike for a bit through the mountains, through the hills, and then reach our bus. So let me tell you guys, River Nile is so huge, you'd think it is a lake. Like, the width is so huge, and like that river is huge, my people. Yeah, so we did a ride on the boat. It was really nice. You could catch a glimpse of hippos and crocodiles, and we reached upstream and then alighted. And then we did a hike. It was a really nice hike, though tiresome, but it was really nice. So we did a hike all the way and got to our bus, and then we actually saw the falls. So the waterfalls are huge. It is so huge that it falls, and then you can feel the droplets coming back onto you. Like, it's it's just an amazing experience. And then you can stand over the cliff and watch as the water dips in. So that's why I think there's a way the rivers meet there. So there was a small split somewhere, and then it comes back and converges again. So it's an amazing, beautiful sight to just behold, and you can see how God is a great craftsman. So yeah, so we got back onto the bus. Oh no, we actually had lunch. It was packed and brought with the bus. We had lunch first, and then we got onto the bus and we left, and then we went back to Arua now, because the falls are about almost 2-3 hours from Arua. Yeah, because they're along the Nile, so like Murchison Falls. So yeah, so we got back to the resort in Arua, and then we did our last day. We did our last days there. It was Goodbyes were tough, my people. Let me tell you, goodbyes are never good at all. Because I remember even in the bus going to the falls now, Eric, Sheila, the whole gang, we were now playing guitar there, singing, bonding. I didn't know that a week was enough to turn strangers into lifetime friends. Like, it's been almost 2 years now, and from that conference I made like deep deep connections. When you just take your time to open up yourself to new places, to new people, it changes you for life. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love traveling, because of the way it opens you up to be empathetic, to be accommodating, because you learn that there's a world bigger than yourself, out there. There are people who are different from you, and it's a really beautiful experience. So for me, I think one of the takeaways from that conference, aside from learning of the amazing things that young people are doing out there, was the friendships, the family. And I remember the last day, the last day we had a last talent afternoon, and people performed. The South Sudanese danced and the Ugandan danced, and the Ugandan sang. They sang this. It's not Nara. This other song, but by Mercy Chinonso. I've forgotten the title of the song. I have never had a more beautiful rendition of that song. Pia Teens Uganda did an amazing job, and it was time to say goodbye, and everyone was all tears. I remember now traveling back overnight to Kampala people were just, it was devastating. How goodbyes are. People were just tired, and we were going to separate, and especially knowing that Team Peru and Team Kenya, we were going to be the first people to leave the scene. So we actually went back. We traveled overnight. People said goodbyes, and tears rolled. We left each other after almost a week of bonding and everything. So going back, that was the first time I actually reached Uganda, but we reached Kampala. That is not Uganda. I was in Uganda. So we when morning came, after we traveled almost 10 hours, we stopped over in Kampala. I think it was about picking something. So that was my first time in Kampala, because you remember I came from Entebbe all straight to Arua. So yeah, so we reached Kampala. It's a beautiful city, my people. It's the city. It's literally on the hills. So like you can see it, how it rolls on the hills, and it's beautiful. But they have so many motorbikes on the streets. And then they call them matatus. What we call matatus, the 14-passenger bus. They call them the taxis. But it's a very vibrant city. It's beautiful, and it has all the amenities you can think of. Don't think that it's backward or anything. It's a beautiful city. I will tell you more about it when I tell you about my second time coming to Kampala. So that first time, I didn't do a name depth. I was just in the car, observing. I never stepped out. And then we went back to Entebbe from Kampala, and people now started separating, because those who are not traveling immediately, like Team Burundi and Team Philippines, they remained in the hotel and had a whole day of bonding. We were not even jealous, at that point. So for me and Team Peru, for me and Churchill and Team Peru, and a part of the PS servants, Sandy and Sue and and part of Team Ugandan leadership. They were coming to Nairobi for now, a global partner, peer servant partner conference that was in Nairobi. So yeah, so about 2 or thereabouts, I just clad my shirt on, and I did flip flops and socks and my tight jeans. And yeah, that's how I left. And I remember reaching the airport. We were on time, and Sandy treated us to lunch. Everyone, we had lunch there together, and then Team Peru was the first to leave. And I remember Kayla and Diana saying goodbye. It was so painful. Yeah, I think we had lunch at Java. I think there's Java in Entebbe, if I'm not. Yes, it was Java. There's Java in Entebbe. Java is now, it's in South Africa. It's everywhere. So we had, though it started in Kenya. Yeah, Kenyans, woo! Give a shout out to yourself. Woo, woo. Yeah, so yeah, anyway, we had lunch there together, and then people now separated. It was a really painful moment. And then we went through immigration, and then flew 40 minutes and landed almost at 4, I think at 4. So yeah, we get there, and then immigration stops me, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? So I had bought my sister this musical instrument. It almost looks like the nyatiti. It's a stringed instrument. And then they're like, why do you want to get in with that one? And I'm like, oh, I'm a musician. And then they're like, oh, you're a musician. Can you play us a few notes? I was so thankful that I had learned to play something around baby Jesus. So that's why I pulled off there. They were like, oh yeah, you're a musician, get in. But I just felt it was just an unnecessary stopover. So yeah, so this is the point we separated. So I had tried to charge my phone. So people, let me just give you free advice. If you're traveling, and especially if you need to use Uber or need to be in contact with someone, try to charge your phone beforehand, or try to charge it on the plane. And don't use your phone if you don't have to use it, because you might need it after you alight and you're not able to. So let me tell you what happened to me. So, I was like freestyling, so the other people were taken by there was a driver to pick us up. James picked the rest of the team up, and they were being taken to Westlands, where the conference was going to be at. And then Churchill and I had to go back home. So Churchill decided he's going to use other means, so he left beforehand. And then it was now starting. I think by the time we get done with the process and everything, it was almost 5:30 towards 6. So I'm like, oh, I'll find a Uber. So yeah, so I check the app, yes, the first time, but my phone is almost at 5%. And I'm like, oh, as long as I order it and I know it's coming, I'll check the plates and I'll find it. So I check the estimate price from the airport to Kahawa, and I'm like, oh, it's about 1,500. And I'm like, okay. Before I just click on ordering the Uber, it goes off. And I'm like, whoa, Churchill is gone, the team is gone, my phone is off. I have the money, but how will I order Uber? Watu wangu nilitense. I have never been disoriented. And I'm just outside the parking lot, and then these taxi people are like, acha tu nikupeleke mazee. I'm there like, no. I just want an Uber, because I didn't trust these people. So I insist on having an Uber, and I do not have a means to get an Uber. So I was trying to figure out a way of charging the phone, but there was no way possible of charging the phone. So I don't know if I looked stranded to this guy, but this guy comes up to me and says, Utaka Uber? And then I hesitate for a moment, but then I tell him, yes, nataka Uber. And like, ulishaangalia estimate? Nikamwambia, hey, ilisema 1,500. Nikasema, okay, sawa, twende. Up to this date, I do not know why I trusted that man. But yes, I agreed. So apparently his car was not on the parking lot outside the terminal. It was actually, there's a parking lot, an underground parking lot just near the terminals. So yeah, so me and myself, we follow this man like a sheep going to the slaughter. And we get into the lift, and we go downstairs to where his car was parked, and that parking spot was literally empty. And then he had this short intermittent cough that was super weird, and it started giving me chills, and it started bugging me. But I have come this far, and I also need to get home. So I said, Oh, and I was taller than him, so I was like, uh, we can do this, if push comes to shove, unless you have a gun, or a knife. Well, we can try, we can throw a jab, here and there. Okay. So we get to his car, and I decide I am sitting up front with him. So just in case anything happens, I can. Okay, I was thinking crazily. I can swap the car, and then we can go off the road. I was ready for that. My mind is my worst enemy. So anyway, I get in the car, I put my luggage at the back, and then he starts driving with his cough, with his weird cough. And like, oh, thank God it was not during Corona period that time, because I would have forced him to wear his mask. So we drive off at about 7 or thereabouts, and then he takes this route Cabanas, and then it comes in Eastern Bypass Amagan, the one that comes through Cabanas, and then we come through what do we call it? Oh, I've forgotten the name. And then we tokea, India, the road that connects with Embakasi guy. What? Okay, I've forgotten. And then we come and tokea, Kamakis. But let me tell you, people, between Cabanas and Kamakis, that is the longest. Okay, it's not as long after I traveled the second time, but it was long for me at that time. And my driver was a talker, So I think he felt I was a good person, and he felt comfortable enough, so he decided to delve into his personal life. So he happened to be gay, and he decided to complain to me as a straight person of how gay people in Kenya are suffering. And he went on all about how they meet, how they have their clinics, and they have their special grants for things they do, and how they are supported. And he was like, if you get the time, you can come to our meetings, like I was there listening. And then at some point before we reached Cabanas, he was supposed to fuel, but he received a call. And then on that call, I caught something like, I'll be there, you can come. In my mind, I'm like, no one is joining us for this ride. If anyone comes at that petrol station, I'm alighting. I will wait there with the petrol attendant, that petrol station attendant. I will sit there, I will alight, and I will pay in the full amount. I am not getting into the car with two strangers who know each other. So we arrive at the petrol station, and if you see me now, I'm doing all that action of looking around, like if anyone joins us, I am lighting. But thankfully it was a hunch that didn't come through. So yeah, so it was just the two of us. So he leaves again. So we drive. It was a very long drive, my people. So I started getting familiar with the Kamakis area. If you know the Kamakis area towards bypass, so I'm like, oh, finally close to home, So yeah, I started being relieved. And then we reach bypass, and then we pass Kenyatta University, and then we get into Kahawa, and I'm like, God, you are so good, you are so great, God, thank you so much. So then we get all the way to almost, I tell him to leave me. So when I travel with Uber, tip for you, just get close to your gate, but don't always alight at your gate. So whenever I use Uber, I don't alight at my gate. So he left me some few paces away from my gate, and when I alighted and stepped on the Kenyan soil and on the Kahawa soil, and I saw my gate, and I went in and sat down and prayed and thanked God, I was like, God, thank you so much for bringing me this far and getting me home. So yeah, boom. So that is how I reached home safe and sound and settled and showered and slept well, waiting for the next day, which was a Sunday. Yeah, so technically that was my journey from Kenya to Uganda, back to Kenya. And I think it was a life changer for me, because I think it was the first time I had been opened up to something beyond Kenya, new people. Of course, I've been in Kenyatta University, I met people from different types and all, but I think going to Uganda and meeting people who speak the same language as I am, specifically my friend Sheila, who is half Luo, or Langi. There's Langi, there's Padola. So this one time I'm talking on the phone with my mom, and she listens, and she understands, and she responds in Luo, and I'm like, wait, what? Are you from Homa Bay? And she's like, no, we have Luos of Uganda. Of course I knew, but I just didn't expect that there will be, I will meet one in person. And we spend the whole week, talking and exchanging in Luo. So it fascinates me that there are brothers of mine and sisters of mine in northern Uganda. So that's a really beautiful cultural experience to know how we are all connected at the end of the day. The Bantus of South Africa have similar things to the Bantus of Kenya and the Bantus of Congo. So it's a beautiful thing to experience new cultures. And that was actually the first time that I felt in love with Uganda. I fell in love with her people. I fell in love with Arua. It was a really beautiful experience, and I thank Peer Servants for opening me up to that opportunity. So yeah, people, that is my Ugandan tale. I'm looking forward to giving you more tales and improving my storytelling skills as it is. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, and keep texting me, reaching out to me on my socials, so that I can do and cover series or topics that you want me to cover. On IG, you can find me at Malela_. On Facebook, you can find me at Jephthah Malela Okech, Malela with a H at the end, Okech with a T. And then you can email me, at authorjephthah12@gmail.com, or you can visit my website, malelasworld.com. Don't forget to share with your friends and listen in. And thank you guys so much for always supporting me. Until next time, it was nice sharing my story with you all. And guys, all the love from my side. Bye bye.